Hello and welcome to this video where I will be covering the camera component for the RPG Toolkit. Now the camera consists of a number of different types of camera. We have the standard third-person camera, an isometric camera, as well as top-down and side-scrolling cameras. And while I'm going to concentrate in this demo video on the standard third-person camera, I will also quickly cover the other three as well. So as you can see, we already have a standard scene set up. The only thing it needs now is to add a camera. So I'll add the standard camera in there, and it consists of a number of game objects itself. It consists of a camera target, which is used if you don't have an actual character in the game that you want the camera to follow. We have a scaffold which controls the camera position, and we have the camera itself. Now the camera is a standard Unity camera with a couple of additional scripts added to it. It has the standard camera controller script and camera input handler script. I'll quickly cover those now. It has camera properties. The target transform is basically what the camera will be following. Now if you don't want it to follow anything, then leave it at the camera target. However, in this case we're going to have it follow the constructor, which is the player in this case. Leave the camera scaffold as it is. The distance specifies how far away from the target, the object of focus, you want the camera to be. Rotation is the angle along the x-axis, and the follow speed determines how quickly the camera follows the focus. Rotation, you can specify whether or not to allow rotation and also how fast it rotates. Zooming, you can specify whether or not to allow camera zooming, as well as the minimum and maximum distances and how fast it zooms. Panning, you can specify whether to allow or disallow panning, as well as how fast you can pan. And obstacle properties indicates how the camera will handle obstacles between the focus object and the camera. And I'll explain that in a little bit more detail in a second. The camera input handler now determines what input you use to move the camera around. So rotation, for example, you can specify whether it's going to be keyboard or mouse, and also what keys to use. And the mouse delta scale, which indicates how far to either side of the camera, how far to either side of the screen you should be before it starts rotating. Panning, use keyboard and mouse again. You can specify the keys as well as the mouse data scale. And zooming, again you can specify keyboard or mouse and whether to use which keys to use. By default you use the mouse wheel to scroll, and by default here you use the WSAD keys, and again by default you'd use the Q and E keys, but I'll show you all that in a second. So we have the camera here, we have it set up, so let's try running it. Now as you can see, I can pan around there, I can rotate, and I can zoom in or out. Now if I just move the character there and I move that around, you'll see now that he is completely obstructed. So if I stop this, I'll show you how to get around that. Here we have the obstacle properties. So at the moment we have obstacle fading enabled, however we don't have any obstacle layers, and we haven't got an obstacle target. Obstacle layers specify which game objects on specific layers count as obstacles. So we'll set this to obstacle there, and now any game object that's on the obstacle layer will be treated as an obstacle. And now if we change the obstacle target to the constructor, there we go, and run it again, and we'll just move him, gets in the way. There. You'll see that now when there's an obstacle in the way between the camera and the object of focus, it will fade out. You can also specify exactly how transparent you want it to be. So if you want to be more transparent, you can change that to 0.1, in which case you can hardly see it. And if you still want to be completely opaque, change it back to 1. So default it uses 0.5. I stop that then. You can also set it to avoid obstacles. What this means is that instead of fading an obstacle that's in the way, the camera will actually move in front of that obstacle. So if we do this instead of fading, and run it again, and we just move into the obstacle again, and move there, you'll see now that the camera moves in front of the obstacle, giving you a clear view. And that is the functionality we have for the standard camera. So if I quickly go over all the other ones, they all actually have the same functionality. I will just disable the standard camera there, drag out an isometric camera, set it up. I think this time we will have it not following the target, but again we want obstacle fading, so I'll set this up here. Oops, missed that. Let's try that again. There we go. Oh, hang on. Silly me, forgot to stop the game, so we disable that, sorry. Bring out the isometric camera and set it up quickly. So, obstacle target there, obstacle layers there. I think that's that set up now. And we run that. You'll see now that instead of a perspective viewpoint, we actually have an isometric viewpoint. Again, you can rotate. By default, since it is isometric, it will rotate along 90-degree values. Again, you can zoom in and out, rotate there. Again, you've got obstacle fading, and so on. So again, it all works exactly the same. There. So I stop that, disable that camera. I will now show you the top-down camera. Here we go. Again, it is exactly the same. So I won't even worry about obstacles this time. I'll just get it up and running. So if I play this, there you go. It's top down, so you can wander around like that. Zoom in so it's a bit easy to see. And there we go. And finally, the side scroll camera. Now, it isn't going to look great because this scene's set up for a third-person top-down view. But if I put it in, you'll be able to see roughly how it works anyway. Camera there, and so I won't even worry about fading, so I'll start this. As you can see, you can still move around there, you can pan, zoom, all the functionality is there, but it's on the side view. So there we go, and that is the camera. If you want more information about it, you can find it in the documentation. We have a tutorial for getting it up and running, and as well as a developer guide which shows you more detail of all the functionality there. But I hope you've enjoyed this video, and thank you for watching it. Goodbye.